My name is.
I'm the Mega Buck. I really love video games.
My name is Raph, and I also love video. That took me a second to figure out what the hell you were doing there. That's really good.
I mean,
That's really
and
good.
welcome to Game Treasure Podcast, where we discuss treasured video games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Why am I doing? Well, because today it's the birthday of a beloved Super Nintendo game. I'm talking, of course, about StarFox.
Happy birthday,
OG,
StarFox.
not Star Fox 64. We know it's a better game. We know. About today, it's Star Fox's birthday, and you can't get Star Fox 64 without Star Fox.
Damn Skippy.
Okay? So we're going to give it its dang due. And that's all there is to it. So, before we do that, we do have some pretty fun and interesting video game news. PlayStation had their... Sorry, I was going to let you finish looking for predators. PlayStation had their state of play. They had their state of play, and I broke, what happened basically down into three categories.
All right.
They showed more of category, the new IP category, and the interesting stuff category.
Holy shit, where did this come from?
The actually good thing category. But I'll get just... All right, so showed more of the new Onimusha: Way of the Sword.
Okay.
This game looks so cool. It looks so good. The graphics look so good. They also announced that they're doing a re-release. I guess it's a remaster of Onimusha 2.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Which I remember we had that one on the PS2, Buck, and that game is so good. I love Onimusha 2. The upgrades to the weapons. Oh, I remember that was like my favorite thing. Little brother syndrome. Like, oh, Buck unlocked the new weapon. Okay, upgrade it. Upgrade that one. I want to see the next one with that one.
I suck with that one. All right.
But yeah, I also the subtitle "Way of the Sword" is really funny to me. Just like they're like fun. I don't know, Way of the Sword.
It's Onimusha. Fuck you. You're gonna buy it anyway.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They showed more of Metal Gear Solid Delta.
Oh.
I wrote in parentheses, the cutscenes look good. Fingers crossed. Because it's still just cutscenes.
They messed them up.
No,
I'm
serious. No, they do. They look good. I'm just, it's just haven't showed any gameplay really yet.
Right, yeah.
And it's just like, it's not, Kojima's not there, right? It's just like, is it gonna still be good to play? Is it?
I'm expecting it to play a lot like that last one that came out. Well, not the last one, but 5. I think, the Phantom Pain. Yeah, I'm expecting it to play a lot like that.
God, that would be amazing. I loved the gameplay of that game.
Oh yeah, no, that game's fantastic. Yeah.
I just listening to David Bowie.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. And the Monster Hunter Wilds, saw some more of that. They teased like a monster that I saw it and I was like, I'm pretty sure I found one of those things, but I'm just not a big enough Monster Hunter fan to be like,
No, they've already shown off some new monsters, and that Avonfold or whatever it's called. It's a new Arkveld or whatever it is. That's a new monster.
You know more than was it? I mean, did it look interesting? A person who's played more Monster Hunter than me.
I played the beta last week, and as of the airing of this, there was another beta because it comes out in a week, 2 weeks. Once this episode airs, it comes out a week from then. So I'll tell you this, it is really polished, and the online, they let you do all the online stuff in the beta, and if it's working that good on launch, that's going to be great.
Oh hell yeah. And then finally, as far as important things they showed more of is Borderlands 4. They showed a little bit of gameplay footage of Borderlands 4, and it looked cool. It got like this grittier look to it, but it's still that cell-shaded, like inky look, but just like a darker. It's like they just took the exposure of the whole thing and like down 2 notches. Like,
can I get a filter, please?
Yeah. Raph, you like Borderlands?
You know what? I actually don't have a lot of experience with these games. I have the first one. I think I have the first one on Steam, and I played a little bit of it, and haven't gotten back to play it.
Borderlands is fun. Borderlands multiplayer is a blast.
Yeah?
Okay. Do you think it will still be fun? Excuse me, sorry, my voice. Do you think Borderlands would still be fun if it wasn't funny?
I think it would be a little more bland, but part of the fun of Borderlands and Tiny Tina, anyway, because this is Borderlands 4 and it's technically like Borderlands 7. because they have the handsome, the prequel, all that.
Sure.
Crap. The gameplay of it itself is also really fun, but outside of the humor, like in Borderlands, you have guns that shoot smaller guns. Like it has, they're randomly generated, so there's that's not script funny, but it is still game funny, and it makes it fun to play it.
So hopefully they'll keep those things.
I think they will.
Like I said, I have a section here, just a booty load of new IP. This was like a shotgun blast of a total Sony move, which is, it seems like they're just like throwing stuff at the wall to see if any of this shit will hit. There were a bunch, but I only wrote down like 5 names here. So there was one called Mind's Eye, one called Sorrows, one called Tides of Annihilation. The people that make Until Dawn and The Quarry are making a new sci-fi horror game.
Oh shit! No way.
And Raph just came.
Directive 8020. I thought the same thing. I was like, ooh, this. I wrote Until Dawn and Quarry people are making sci-fi one. Yay!
Yeah.
Oh, this looks really cool.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Shit, this is really exciting.
I like it.
And then this is kind of in there, but Lies of P is getting a DLC.
Yeah, which is
Lies of P
really
Overture.
That's cool.
So just pumping more stuff into these things, Xbox, sort of always famously losing the race of IP, and Sony doing their best to just be like, here's a guy in an exoskeleton with an assault rifle shooting an alien. You like that? No? All right. Here's a magic lady, and she summons these monsters and does like God of War style combat. You like that? No? All right. Here's a guy, and he's got a dog. They're just like trying anything they can.
I was putting away some games for Retro the other day, and I came across a PS4 game called Clive Barker's Undying, and I was just like, I've never heard of this. Clive Barker made a game, Undying, and it's just like there's so much stuff that Sony greenlights and puts out and all that. It's like that's so cool. I don't know.
So there's a bunch of that. So in other words, stuff that doesn't necessarily make me want to go get a PlayStation, but I guess if you have a PlayStation, you got a bunch of new stuff that you can try. And the most exciting thing, though, is that Dave the Diver.
We got any Dave the Diver fans out there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Buck, have you played Dave the Diver?
No,
I haven't either.
But I've been playing. So cool, and I meant to.
I'm going to get to what it is. I've been playing Porgy. On the streams, and it seems to be very similar, where it's like you're going down over and over again,
but you're
getting what you can, coming back, but then it has this other half. But haven't played it, and I feel like I need to, because on top of all the other incredible DLCs that have happened for this game, they announced a Yakuza Like a Dragon cross promotion with Dave the Diver that, like, in the trailer of it, had a side-scrolling beat 'em up, like format of gameplay, a la Ninja Turtles arcade, like whatever.
And Ichiban punching fish.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's called Ichiban's Holiday, and it literally has Ichiban Kasuga and the I think bartender actually from the bartender. The bar they all go to, and all of them now.
I should have done some research and like, are the guys that just make Dave the Diver really cool? And then everyone's just like, hey, you can, or like, why is this one? It's not, what's it called? Fortnite.
Right.
So why are they getting Godzilla and like this and a series of other ones that like I said, I didn't write down, but there's got to be at least like 6 or 7 DLCs for Dave the Diver by now.
Maybe
and like most of them are cross promotion. Everyone fell in love with it when it came out, and it just kind of, I don't know. People just it's an indie game, right? Or is it, is it a major studio?
It's an indie game. I'm almost positive it's
it's an indie. I believe it's an indie game, but
maybe it's just somebody at Sega or somebody at Ryoga Gotoku. Okay, they just went, I love that game. Can we somebody reach out to them and make something with it?
It looks really funny.
I love it.
So that I believe is all I had. Bucker, Raph, did you have anything else from the Sony State of Play that looked interesting? No, right?
No, nothing. Yeah.
Besides that, just like some remasters, some like none of the IP looked particularly interesting to me. No offense, I'm just saying. But I digress. Let's get on with our show. We will take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to sit down with RetroGameTreasure.com at the Retro RoundTable to discuss StarFox for the Super Nintendo. We will be right back.
Good luck.
Okay, we are back and we are here to talk about StarFox for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, I think we all agree that we would have rather have talked about StarFox 64. I said that at the beginning of the episode, but like I said, I want to give StarFox its due. It's on the Nintendo online service. Very easy to play. It's very famous. It's beloved. It's Buck is holding up an inbox copy of the wonderful puppet-clad art that is the box art of StarFox.
All of them.
These Thunderbird esque little footed. They look like
they do have tiny feet, don't they?
They look like if the Thunderbirds was made by the whoever directed the Dark Crystal. Did Jim Henson do it?
Jim Henson,
he did, yeah. But oddly enough, I think it's because all of them have metal feet. Do all of the animals get their feet amputated in the StarFox universe?
Whoa,
they literally all have like metal legs and feet. I've never noticed that all of them do.
I guess they're supposed to be stylized boots, but like those legs don't be fitting in those boots.
If you're on Spotify, we have Spotify video. Switch over to video real quick on your phone. You can see this box.
He's got what's the guy that makes Deadpool? That artist?
Oh,
the guy who can't draw feet or whatever.
He's got that. He's got those guys. Not Jeff Loeb.
I don't remember. I know you're talking about.
If you're listening to this, Rob, is it Rob Liefeld?
Rob Liefeld.
It is Rob Liefeld. Yes, yeah.
But I say if you're listening at home and screaming in your car, sorry.
We got
anyhow, StarFox, or as it's known in the PAL regions, Starwing, is a 1993 Super Nintendo video game. Published by Nintendo, of course, developed by Nintendo, and more importantly, co-developed by Argonaut Software. So more on that in just a moment when I talk about the FX chip. So you play as ace space pilot mercenary Fox McCloud and his band of co-pilots, Pepe Hare, Slippy Toad, and of course Falco Lombardi, aka Team StarFox, in a fight to defend Corneria from the evil forces of Andros, who is essentially a floating head. He's an ex-Cornerian scientist who's a terrorist now, basically.
This man's all up in the lore.
He's also just a paper mache head and then a cube with a bunch of faces on it, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I say that you play as all of them and not just StarFox because there's a like sort of wingman like mechanic in this game. So you only control Fox, but your three co-pilot guys will like join you in the levels.
Yeah.
And there's this mechanic where you have to save them, and if you do, they'll help you kill guys in the level and whatever. So technically, you're playing as the whole StarFox team. But yeah, it's a third person and sometimes first person rail shooter. Maybe it's a baby's first shmup, or
it
like
forces that first person on you, but you can immediately hit select and switch it back to
and go back.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that, but you learn that pretty quick. You're like, oh, this
first
sucks.
person is
How do I
hard.
go back?
But yeah, it's you fly through rings essentially is the main mechanic to heal up your ship. You pick up power-ups to do things like increase your single gun into a double gun or to gain like temporary invulnerability, things like this. You pitch and yaw around this screen as you roll through these levels. You can boost forward and brake to slow down, which is pretty cool because like usually in shmups, the screen is just sort of like, this is how fast you're going. You don't get to necessarily dictate, so you actually go forward slightly faster or to pull back. There are like bosses that require you, in fact, to pull back because you're getting sucked in by like some attack of theirs. It's pretty cool. You can bank your ship with the shoulder buttons. Well, technically, you actually customize your controls at the beginning of the game. It's got this cool
training thing,
yeah. It's got this cool little image of the R wing like in the corner, and then while you're scrolling through the different control like types, you can like test them out. And I was like, that's pretty cool, like especially because this is new technology that they're fucking with. So, but on top of being able to bank and become vertical, like I said, you can also double tap that shoulder button to, everyone say it with me now, Do a barrel roll. Thank you. And deflect incoming projectiles.
Which is awesome.
Just right out of the gate, StarFox is most famous for a couple things. So while it was technically the second 3D Nintendo game,
stealing all my factoids.
What
was the first 3D Nintendo
The first one
game?
was a Japanese game called X that was also made by Argonaut Software.
That's right. One of the same actual programmers, Dylan Cuthbert, who ended up working on StarFox as well.
Yes. Cool. So it is also a space flight simulator game. Yeah, whatever.
Very crude.
I didn't look up how much they are because I was like, ooh, for the Game Boy? Don't mind if I do.
Gunpei Yokoi was the producer of that game. That's Game Boy's daddy, if you kids don't know out there, and creator of the Virtual Boy as well.
Because that looked, I was looking at it. It looked like I was like, I would play this for like on the stream or something.
It looks
like
okay.
The controls because it's only in Japanese.
That wouldn't hurt it.
And so, it's technically the second, 3D game, but it was definitely the first Nintendo game to use polygons, thanks to the Super FX chip, which was designed by Argonaut Games. So I'm going to yada through the relationship of Argonaut makes this game, and then Nintendo's like, that's looking good. And then they partner with them, and then they do a test thing with Pilot Wings, and, they're like, oh, can we do 3D? And they're like, well, we can do this. It's kind of like
Mode
3D.
7.
Yeah. So it's a co-processing chip, this Super FX chip that just lives inside of the cart. So from what I understand, too young, don't remember actually going to Toys R Us to get it, but the MSRP on StarFox when it originally came out was more because it literally had a little piece of hardware in it.
I was probably not quite buying my own games yet, but I bet you could convince me that. I bet it was $10 more because of that darn chip in there.
I can believe that.
Yeah, they certainly did. So yeah, it does this. It's a co-processor that just helps these polygons function, and so they get 3D gaming on the Super Nintendo. The last sort of thing that this game is noted for is this I'm going to call it a difficulty system. So that when you start the game, you always start on Corneria and end on Venom, but there's 3 paths you can take.
Yeah.
So you can beat the game. They all correspond with difficulty levels essentially. So you can beat StarFox just on the first path, and it's not so hard, but then you don't get to see everything. So the game's like, you want to go back and play it again, maybe in the middle path, you know what I'm saying? And then maybe a third time on the really hard path.
So cool. And you didn't know they were easier or harder necessarily, right? It didn't mark them as easier or harder.
No, they didn't.
Exactly.
No,
man, that alone was really revolutionary for this game to give you those paths. Because again, it's kind of a shmup in your brain, or a rail shooter, or a flight simulator. I don't know what you want to call it, a mixture of all those. There weren't many other games around that time, like maybe like Star X for the PS1 and a couple others that were kind of space flight sims, but you only had what was the freaking Star Wars X-Wing, like the on PC and stuff.
Yes,
those kind of games are like all you really had. Yeah, and they weren't quite the same as this. They certainly didn't have the third person. And when you're playing like especially the planet levels in StarFox, the way that you stay in that like low fly pattern of the planet makes the gameplay completely different as opposed to just flying around in like open space or open air.
Because it almost adds like a platforming, quote unquote.
Yeah, Space Harrier was like the closest I could think of something similar to this.
Oh, okay.
I've never played that.
But yeah, just the idea of your ship is going to take damage if it clangs against the level.
Right, yeah.
And so
your wing could break off. The wings could break off your arm.
Yeah,
right.
Yep,
yeah.
That's a nice thing to mention, that when you take damage, there's this cool thing where your ship literally breaks, and one of the wings or both will become like little stubby red versions of themselves. Like, it's pretty cool. But you can heal them back up by like rolling through enough rings. It's think Superman for the N64, but not hot fucking dog shit garbage.
But inspired and really fun to play, and good controls and great music. Like,
isn't it funny that it's the same gameplay, but for some reason this game a zillion times better. Anyhow, that difficulty or system with the planets also gets sort of like added to with something they do later in StarFox, which is like adding secret warps. Some of the levels have warps. There's like there's one that takes you to a sort of secret world, like where you run into this bird that's present in like the third level of one of the paths, and then it takes you to like an alternate ending basically for the game.
There's like a whole lore thing about, is that StarFox's dad? Was he lost? He was lost in the deep reaches of space. Like,
and then there's another one that takes you just to you can use it to go to any level in the game basically. So,
and this game is full of lots of little secret paths that you can take within every level too. Even just like I think like in the second level, you're going through these ships that you can actually fly through them, a la Star Wars, like flying the trench and like take them out from the inside, or you can just bypass them completely.
Yeah, okay, so let's, instead of talking about the fun facts first, let's talk about what we like about StarFox, I suppose, and like what it does right. Because Raph, right before we recorded this, was like, I didn't want to compare this game to StarFox 64, but I feel like it's impossible. And it's just like,
it's not fair. Because if you go back in time to when it came out and you didn't have StarFox 64, and this is all you had, you go, this game is amazing and revolutionary. They will build from here.
Right. And so that's what I wanted to try to get the point of view from, which is just like, try to pretend you live in a world where StarFox 64 does not exist.
It's March 22nd, 1993.
Weigh the merits of what this game does good and bad. So first of all, I could totally like see this game just blowing the fucking mind out of a kid from 1993.
It did.
Just you turn that bitch on, and then like the intro, which is literally an homage to the intro to Star Wars, but it's on your TV at home, 1993 child. And you're just like, whoa, and then you're flying around as this. I just want to mention how cool the style of it all is.
Yeah.
I was doing research, and like they're like Shigeru Miyamoto was just talking about like everything's just like space guys and shit. Like I don't want it to be space guys no more. I want to do animals. And everyone in Nintendo was just like, that sounds cool, King. You're the boss, bro.
You don't get to tell Shigeru Miyamoto no.
And it's just like, it adds so much to, if it was just like if when your co-pilots come on and say some shit, if it was just like sort of like a guy in a helmet, or like like a very generic like space lady who's just an homage to one of the characters from Aliens, like it would just kind of be like
rip off.
But the fact that it's
got
like
a cool bird and like a frog
you know what, it's not just like they all have really fun, witty dialogue that sounds right out of Star Wars. Yes, like
they
you
all
have
personalities.
You've got a like an overly confident, cocky bird, and then you've got like a happy-go-lucky, bumbling boy frog,
you got the old veteran rabbit,
the wise old veteran rabbit, right?
And then
exactly.
You got the forgettable guy,
and then the hotshot, fox, the slick, smooth, like leader of the pack situation. Like it's just like it's fucking cool, man. I don't know. It's just like it literally to me is. I guess this is dumb to like, it's sort of almost like no duh, but it's half of the game is just like the vibe of the game in the sense that it's style.
Yeah.
Like the shape of the ship alone is just like so interesting. It's got these weird like double fans that flare out almost like ears or something of a fox or of some other animal, I guess.
I wish I still had it, but in Nintendo Power, when this game came out, they gave out a papercraft R-Wing.
And it totally
cut out, and I folded it up. Holy crap.
It's fascinating because honestly, like the design of the R-Wing is almost certainly because of the design limitations of the effects chip.
Oh yeah,
like it's just 100%. Straight up polygons, but that shit still looks iconic. Like if you look at it in the N64, that shit looks fire still. And like,
I was gonna say,
it's a cool ship, man.
Yeah. It may have been serendipitous, just like that. Totally. It obviously the limitations, but how convenient is it that Japan literally has a thousands of year old tradition that revolves around folding paper?
Right.
Like it's just like it's just like it perfect.
Very well, right?
Beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
I guarantee you, the first thing he did was I guarantee you, Miyamoto like made a freaking paper version of this ship and said, "Make it look like that."
Right. Especially because it's like it's all animals anyhow, so it's just like, oh, there's this thing called a paper crane, and we make them over here. Anyhow, I think that Star Fox gameplay wise, it's 1993. We can talk about the frame rate, I guess. Do we want to address the elephant in the room, which
So
is
I actually have a lot to say about, like, honestly, this game. I think so. My first experience with it as a kid. I obviously played StarFox 64 first. Um, One day, my parents took me to a party. It was one of those, like, I'm a kid. I'm like maybe 11 or 12 years old. I'm being taken to like an adult party. There's a kid that lives in this house. This is the most uncanny memory. I don't remember the people. I don't remember even the kid. I just remember this,
Star
and it's
Fox.
so, yes,
And that's
Star Fox
how
is
that's the impact that Star
right.
Fox had.
I had already played, the N64 one. So I walk, they tell me, oh, you can go play Super Nintendo in the back room. So I go to the back room. It's dark. I mean, pitch black, except for the glow of the fucking TV. We played several games, but the one that stands out in my mind is Star Fox, because I had already played Star Fox 64, and this was so honestly kind of terrifying as a kid to see this uncanny, bizarro world of a game that I knew and loved. But now, as a 36-year-old man, dude, I really like this game. I want to add it to my collection now. It is actually supremely charming. Like, I found it really genuinely charming. It plays pretty well, even at that silky smooth 10 FPS. It still controls really well. I had a great time with it.
Put it in that time capsule, and all those things are 100% true. Mac is completely right, though. The frame rate is the thing that dates it the most,
for sure. Oh yeah,
because
for sure.
It's the best that it could achieve on the Super Nintendo. Considering, look at some other Super Nintendo games and look what this does, and you're like, holy crap! This isn't parallaxing of sprites like Mode 7 does with Pilot Wings and F-Zero and some of that. This is actual 3D. This isn't even parallaxing of sprites that the FX chip does in Yoshi's Island, because the FX chip is in the second Super Mario World game, and that's how you achieve all the 3D effects with the backgrounds and whatnot. This is actual 3D environments. It's how they got Doom to work on the Super Nintendo, for God's sakes, right? By using that chip.
And that's another game that also runs at a silky smooth 10 frames per second. But dude, honestly though, like, and the Star Fox 64 outclasses this game in almost every regard. But there is one thing that I will say that I think that this game actually does better, and I think that the music in this game is fucking fantastic.
It's pretty damn good.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it does have the probably best first level, like when you first take off. And you're just like, you can just hear that guitar fucking ripping as you are like fucking Top Gunning it through your home planet to go save the universe. And you're like, hell yeah, dude.
I read some Reddit posts because I was trying to look up things on some of the voiceovers, and someone said, just to confirm, it does say emergency, 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 incoming enemy fighters, prepare for launch. And the first comment says, is it weird that I got goosebumps when you said that?
Well, it's surprisingly cinematic for a game that runs so choppy, and it looks, it actually looks pretty good, in my opinion, at least.
No, that music, that Corneria, when you launch music, is just it will forever give me chills.
For me, Star Fox SNES feels like, with the music, it makes it feel like an action movie, like an action game. But then Star Fox 64 feels very tragic, and it feels desperate all the time.
That's interesting. I get more of a hybrid sci-fi military vibe. From the dun, 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 dun,
you feel heroic.
Dun, 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 dun. The background has a very march kind of sound to it. So I think that's what they were going for too. They're like, this is our space army force guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's you are literally like ace like pilots who are also mercenaries, and you're being hired by the head of the military to pilot an experimental aircraft. Why? Because you are kick-ass like mercenary pilots. It's like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Dude. Absolutely.
But the game is brightly colored, all of the Nintendo. Like, could have easily made it drab if they wanted to make it military, but it's not. Everything is pretty much neon bright colors. They do something interesting and good with the design, which is every enemy weak point is like highlighted with like a bright orange and red blinking like area, essentially.
That was an 80s thing, dude. I'm going to date myself, but all you kids out there that are old enough, if you ever remember Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future.
Yes.
Which was a VHS tape. You could watch the show, but you can also play the tape, and the gun was like your ship. And all of the, how do you pronounce it? Verniers, like the the exhaust ports on like jet fighters and stuff like that.
Okay.
That those parts would all light up that same way in that red and yellow flashing,
I remember
glowing,
those
and
VHSs.
immediately your brain knows that's a weak point. Shoot that. It just translates.
It's very helpful. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't have that much to say about Star Fox, mostly because I don't really particularly like shmups. I've talked about this before. Lots of things to focus. I'm not very good at them is the problem. It's a skill thing. I've never had enough patience to get good, perhaps. I know I was never able to play Star Fox for long enough to get good, to get through the whole thing, even though you can do it in like an hour if you know what you're doing.
It's not that bad because
No.
it's not like a one-hit kill like a standard shmup. You have a life bar.
Yeah.
And you have a reflecting, like the spin, you can like reflect projectiles.
That's the get good part he's talking about, though.
Right. Oh, I see.
For me, yeah, the Star Fox stands basically on its legacy, which is that just like it creates Star Fox 64, which is just one of the most beloved games of all time. You know, Fox is in Smash Brothers. He becomes one of the best characters at one time and enters this video game zeitgeist in that capacity. Right, ironically, you know, Star Fox has not. The last Star Fox game was Star Fox Zero in 2016.
Is that the Wii U?
That's for the Wii U. Oh. And that game was got very middling reviews, is very divisive in regards to its fan reception. It's essentially follows the formula of Star Fox 64, but apparently there's just like some problems with some of the boss battles and things like this. And then before that, the last original Star Fox game to come out, like as in not a reboot of 64, not Star Fox 2 getting a release on the SNES Mini, was 2006, which is Star Fox Command.
Oh,
so it's
for
just
the
like
DS.
So it's like, are we going to get another one in 2026? Like, it seems like Nintendo...
You should before too long.
I don't know.
Just Star Fox Command was basically what Star Fox 2 was going to be, and it just sucked. And we learned that later when it came out on that SNES meeting. Oh, this is why you canceled this. This was not a good game. But let's rewind what you said there for just a second. It did build a legacy. There was nothing. There was no Star Fox before Star Fox.
Right.
This game sold 4 million copies on an original IP and kickstarted that franchise.
And despite being treated much like F-Zero and to a lesser extent Metroid by Nintendo, it's just like it still has diehard fans that are passionate about Star Fox as people who are about Sonic the Hedgehog. Like this you have Sonic the Hedgehog being, you know, obviously a titular character for an entire company. It's like the face of a thing. But meanwhile, though, they're just like people that just like think Star Fox whoops ass and just love it. I mean, this Star Fox for the Super Nintendo is lauded as like one of the most beloved Super Nintendo games, nay, one of the most beloved video games, period. People really love it. Maybe that's nostalgia talking on their behalf, but
a little bit.
The consensus seems to be that Star Fox, I mean, obviously it's a technical marvel on the Super Nintendo. We already covered that. So, but I don't know. It must have made such a brand in the hearts of people of 1993 that it's just like it's stuck, you know, and it's still, hopefully it gets a new good game soon. You know, I'm sure whenever we cover F-Zero, we'll say the same exact thing, but which is just like, even though I'm not a fan of the genre, certainly it could get its Metroid Dread. No, Could we get a Star Fox Dread?
Oh, don't get me so Excited because you guys saw our games we don't care for as much. I want a reboot of Star Fox in true form more than I want Metroid Prime 4.
Right.
We would need I don't know. I guess like I said, I didn't play the one for the Wii U, but people say, you know, it's got a little bit of a faster pace, so it's like it's got to be a little bit more slow and deliberate. I guess a little bit more puzzly and less actiony, you know, because the Star Fox levels and the defeating of the enemies, I don't know. Like I said, I can't put my finger on what it feels like because it's.
Yeah, I think that this first Star Fox for the SNES shines above almost all the rest of them, even 64, in some of its level design and how unique it was. There were a lot of limitations, like we said, because of the hardware, but it led to things like pillars collapsing in on you and all those kinds of things that you'd never seen before in the 3D space, certainly not on the console, maybe if you were a PC gamer back then too. but I think it still
Semi-destructible
shines above.
environments.
And so I think it shines above all of the other titles in that respect, and that's kind of what all these games that have been rebooted and found success. Everything from Doom to and anything else that's been rebooted in the last 5 years or so, that's what they have to find with StarFox to bring it back to that kind of glory. They have to focus more on the gameplay and not just making it pretty and doing everything else, which is what Nintendo's pretty good at. So it shouldn't be a very high bar to set for them.
It's not like I'll tell you this, it's not like they have to introduce new storyline or new characters. That's not what we want. Like literally just you already have them. That you have the hardest part, which is you somehow struck gold with a bunch of ugly ass Thunderbird puppet references that are half animal, half person with the tiny metal feet and everything. People were like, "We like that. We like that shit."
Yeah, give us more of that.
Give me 4 animal Han Solos and fucking pack me up and call it a day.
4 animal Han Solos.
So Miyamoto's in charge of all this stuff, like creatively, I believe, at Nintendo. I think that's how his title still works. Do you think that Miyamoto doesn't really like StarFox? Do you think that's why they kind of get thrown in the trash bin? Because he goes, nah, I don't really, nah. Do you think he doesn't like StarFox and at a further extension like F-Zero and some of these other Super Nintendo games that they helped work on?
It's kind of, I don't know. I don't think so. He seems like a man who's too pure to hate. That kind of leads into the fun facts. I know, yeah. It's like it's not his darling. I was trying to get to that as well, and I think that almost might have inherently something to do with the genre. The fact that it is a rail shmup, like, is just like a harder game type to get into for the common person for reasons I can't quite explain than your average platformer, than a puzzle game or something. Like I'm trying, like
they're of a specific time, aren't they?
That would have been true when games weren't as mainstream 30 years ago, but nowadays that's
when they got invented, you know what I mean? And it's just like now it's too late. If you want to change the style, now you're changing it. So if
you don't need to change the style, I think. Could you imagine if they did a really good? Okay, what was the name of the frickin' game that had StarFox in it, but it wasn't a StarFox? It only had StarFox in it.
I know
in the
you're
Switch
talking
version.
about.
I meant to grab it because we have
that
the toy of it.
game or whatever thing,
and it was like that. That was an open world game where you basically played in an R-wing, whether you had the Switch version or not.
Yeah.
And that was a really neat game. They could have done a great, I mean, I know everybody's going to say adventures, but it's like, no, they didn't do the rest of the R-Wing stuff justice, and they focused too much on the platforming 3D bullshit.
Yeah, it's a completely different, it's a platformer. It's a 3D platformer made by Rare, I mean, this is a Banjo-Kazooie game.
Yeah.
I would say
my point is, like, when I'm watching footage of even Star Fox 64, I'm like, I like that game because of it's sort of like a movie that you harken back to, but it's not a movie that I don't want to see a new one necessarily. Like it's the same with F-Zero, where it's just like F-Zero is a racing game. But Mac, people love Mario Kart. Yes, it's because it has all of the cadre of characters from all of Nintendo in it by now. And so people are like, all right, fine, I'll play Mario Kart because I can play as blank and it's got items in it and this and that. F-Zero doesn't have items. F-Zero is a straight up racing game. So it's got like a barrier of entry that just makes it to where it's almost like Shigeru Miyamoto goes, do I want to spend the time to make these games likable by more people, or do I just want to fucking work on a new Mario? Yeah, I'm going to do a new Mario. It's just like,
good point.
I don't know.
That is a good point, yeah.
But fun facts about Star Fox. So Shigeru Miyamoto based the gameplay, or not based, but he got the idea of flying through the rings from this temple in Japan. It's a Shinto shrine, yes?
It's a very famous one, yeah.
Fushimi Inari. You've probably seen pictures of it. If you know what a torii gate is, those orange or red. Yeah, they're like giant rectangles that are at every Shinto shrine. And this particular shrine, the Fushimi Inari shrine, has like thousands of them.
10,000. There are 10,000 torii gates approximately at Fushimi.
People donate money to build them, basically. Like every time something good happens to you, you give money to this shrine because whatever. And so they're all lined up in a row and you can walk through them like in succession, very, very much so like Star Fox.
Some of them are so close together, there's barely any like sunlight between them.
Most of them.
Mac and I have both been there, by the way. I've been there twice.
Wow, this is
and it's a
gorgeous.
couple miles to walk it. It goes up a hill, up a mountain side there, and so there are entire sections where forget just like going through the rings and going through the opening and closing doors in StarFox. You can see because they kind of wind a bit. You can see where he got that idea and that feeling of like
Winding
flying
to the
kind of
next
through
series
those, but close to the ground and doing all that. I remember taking a video with my iPhone and it's literally me flying back and forth going, I'm StarFox, because I'm a child.
And wouldn't you know it, the Fushimi Inari Shrine is, a shrine dedicated to a deity that represents like prosperity and nature, and of course, it is
The
guarded
kitsune.
by a fox. Wouldn't you know?
Hey.
A giant, foxes used to keep mice and other rodents away from the crops, and so they were seen as sacred symbols of like prosperity and horticulture and whatnot. So you can literally see Shigeru Miyamoto going like, huh? Oh, hey,
Easy.
Wait a minute. Yeah, it's like I've seen this new show called Thunderbirds. It's a bunch of these puppets and they fly ships around and it's got this corny action music. And what if we did that, but with animals?
Japan is so cool incorporating their like folklore into like video games, like their art. Like it's so cool, man.
Yeah,
they have a lot of it though.
I know,
they have a lot of it.
Speaking
we just
of
have
those
like the one. We're really boring.
Crazy puppets. Shigeru Miyamoto created and photographed those puppets used for that game's cover art.
I did not know that.
And he was, I said it like 3 or 4 times now, inspired by Thunderbirds.
He made these puppets.
I'm going to put that on the screen here. He helped create that. I don't think he did like sewing and things. Right? He worked with puppeteers to be like, make them look like this. Yeah. They look fucking crazy and awesome. And really cool. Then Takaya Imamura, the designer, based the original StarFox crew basically on on team members from Nintendo. Specifically, StarFox is supposed to be Shigeru Miyamoto.
Oh,
Google it.
That makes sense. Hey, Google. He did a lot of character designs for Nintendo. F-Zero, StarFox, Zelda, like Majora's Mask. He did a lot of. He invented Tingle.
Boom, bitch.
Oh, damn.
Get out the way. So I wanted to do like something for these retro roundtables, or like whenever we talk about like a retro game, like if you could change one thing about this game, what would you do? With Ninja Gaiden, it was like, I just wish you could just jump off of a wall in any other direction besides just left. You know what I mean? But when I was thinking about it, I was like, honestly, I don't know. I can't think of one thing that you could change about StarFox that would make it better, because it's just like doing what it does so well, which is it's just trying to be a technical marvel for its hardware, and it's just trying to be a flying game, like
succeeding at all those things.
Yeah,
it really does succeed at everything it does.
Yeah, it's got fun additional mechanics on top of a flight simulating rail shmup. What am I gonna like besides overhauling something like I think you should add a new weapon, or like I wish the frame rate wasn't so bad? It's just like, well, no duh, like of course, but I can't think of a single thing that they could adjust slightly to improve
I'm racking
the game.
My brain too. I'm going add a second player. No, don't really want that. Don't really need that.
That wouldn't have worked out. Yeah. Was there, if I remember right, was there a section in that game where you're I know that 64 had a tank, but if I remember right, I thought there was something like that. There was like a vehicle section in this game.
In the SNES.
It was in StarFox. That's the one.
Like this weird walker.
No. That's the one. I hated that. Okay, so never mind.
I'll just bring it up for one quick second here. There is a StarFox 2. We never got it as kids. It was completed, and it is hot garbage. I guarantee you that Miyamoto was not around when it was being developed, and he played like that almost finished product, and he said, do not put that out. We'll work on the 64 version instead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's just not that great. They took a bunch of elements from that and put it in 64 and put it in Command, which was really great. But perfect example of quality control is more important.
Yeah.
Then honestly, I wouldn't change a damn thing. I think it's fucking perfect.
For what it's trying to do, there's no thing where, like I said, but like controls are good, music's good. What am I going to say? Make the saving your teammates easier. That's just I'm just not good at the game. That's not a thing where it's just like Ninja Guy and let me jump in a different direction.
I can think of one thing, but then I would need to play it to see if I liked it, or if like 5 seconds in I went, nope, Miyamoto probably tried that and said, oh, that's terrible. No, put it back.
What was that?
Panning out the field of view just a little further. like
Ooh,
making my ship
I
just
could
a
see
little
that.
smaller on
Smaller?
screen and letting me see just a little bit more around me. Because
Okay.
you can only move within that space, right? There's basically an invisible rectangle,
Yeah.
and you can only
Mhm.
move within the space of the space there.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would change the game too much if you had just because you find yourself a lot of times flying towards a corner of the screen and your ship practically goes off screen
Right.
to like try to pull away from a blaster coming at you or something.
A reticle would be nice. That gets added in
Yes. Yeah.
64. I don't know if that's a
Yep,
technical
that's true.
limitation thing. I know, I don't
Good
know.
point.
That
It
would
might be
be
a problem with drawing it in front of the ship because
That's
there
what I
is a
was thinking.
reticle in the first person mode. Like in this game, you do have a reticle if you're in first person mode,
Right.
but not when you pull it back. And I wonder if
Right.
it's something about drawing it in front of the screen, in
It
front
might
of
have
the
been because
far
you're
wing or
trying to
whatever.
achieve a third, like, because
Yeah.
it has got like swooping effects. So it'd be
Mhm.
like,
For the piece of hardware that it was on, it was a technical marvel.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. No, really.
So no notes, Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yeah.
Big surprise. You've
Big
made
surprise. You're
another
really good at
baller
this.
ass good game.
I've
So
got a fun
that is
fact for you.
okay. Perfect. Thank you.
So Mac already mentioned that StarFox in the PAL region is called Star Wing.
Yes.
But there's a really interesting reason for that. First off, the initial rumor back in the day, and Larry Bundy, if you're going to watch this short, I know, buddy, it's okay, I got this. It was there is an Atari 2600 game called, wait for it, Star Fox.
Oh.
And
No way.
it's a terrible Defender ripoff. But
Huh.
there's literally 1983, 10 years before Star Fox. We already got Star Fox at home, but it's terrible.
Strange.
So originally people thought that was the reason. No, they got to talk to some folks at Nintendo, and the real reason was because there was a German company, pretty big company, and an entertainment company as well called Star Fox already. It's called Star Vox with a V. And they thought, especially with a German accent, they say Star Fox. That sounds like Star Fox.
Right.
And they were like, we don't want avoid a court case, whatever else, just change the name. And they changed it to Starwing.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Did you know Star Fox 64 isn't even called Starwing?
No.
It's called the Lilat Wars.
The Lilat Wars. That actually is really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Well, that is all I have for Star Fox for the Super Nintendo. I think that does it. I think we are going to go ahead and take our break and come back, do our what else you got, and finish out our episode. All right, dudes, what else you got for me this week? What else you got? The section of our show where we can bring anything to the table, be it video game or otherwise. Today, I have a video game.
Ooh, I like video games.
All right, listen. I can't be spending money on video games every time I want to try a video game. And so this is why I'm saying to you, a new game came out on Game Pass. All right, Kingdom 2 Crowns. I played on Game Pass. April 28th, 2020 release. Kingdom came out much prior to this. So, Buck, you played Kingdom?
Did I?
Those games are fun.
I know Raph definitely has. We were talking about it earlier.
I don't think
it is a game. It's an indie game where you the only thing you do is you play as a king who walks from left to right in this like little kingdom. It's basically a base.
I forget which one.
It's a base builder game that is like the simplest version of its gameplay format that I've ever interacted with. I played it before. I played Kingdom years ago when it came out. And I didn't realize they had released this 2-player version. But anyhow, it comes out on Game Pass, so I sat down and played it with my girlfriend, and it was super fun. And we only got to play it for like 45 minutes. But when I was like, all right, I gotta jump off and take some notes on Star Fox, she was like, I don't want to stop playing. And it was like, oh, cool. So we're definitely gonna jump back in. But so you play as like a little, you play as like it's got like Monkey Island kind of pixel art graphics.
Yeah, right.
There's you play as like a lanky, noodly king guy riding on a horse, and you're in like a field area, and you walk from left to right, and you've got all these peasant guys that you start with in a very small encampment, and you basically collect coins by having them do things like kill like wildlife for you and collect their pelts, or chop down a tree and bring you the bare materials for it or whatever. But it's just everything translates to coins. You literally walk from left to right, assign these guys jobs, collecting coins, and then using the coins to either assign more jobs, essentially, aka build more bows or hammers, or like building your little camp bigger, that is to say only in this left or right direction. So you do things like build like an archer stand, or like a wall with spikes coming out of it to defend from bad guys that come during a night cycle. So during the day, you basically are free to roam around and explore and build shit and collect taxes, essentially. And then when the night comes, you gotta kind of be careful, because these like little mob guys spawn from both directions randomly. And so if you're past your own defenses, you're sort of exposed. You have literally no means of defending yourself. And if you get caught by the bad guys, they'll basically punch you and mug you for any gold that you have on you. And that's it. You try to avoid them, and then every day you collect more taxes and build your base a little bit bigger. And I don't know, it's a fun 2-player game for me, just because my girlfriend doesn't really play video games, but there's literally only one button that she has to press in this game. And since it's split screen co-op, it's just like, hey, I'm gonna go this way for this like day cycle. You do whatever you want. It's like you can come with me and help me explore this area, or you can go the other way. It's not like she's gonna get lost and be like, I don't know where I am. I'm just like, did you go left or right? I went left. All right, well, I'm right. So it's just like, if you want to meet up, I'm at the right. So it's just, I don't know. I have anything other to say than it's just like a really simple base building game that's got really nice pixel art, some nice ambient music. If you have a partner in your life who doesn't play video games, or even if they do, I think they could find enjoyment in sitting down with you and playing split screen Kingdom 2 Crowns. Really, really good.
New Lands. Now that I had to remember which one I played in the series.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
Which is fun.
If the Kingdom 2 Crowns that's on Game Pass also includes all the other versions of Kingdom, like it's got like Kingdom Shogun and Kingdom, like it's an Egypt themed one and a Japan themed one.
Have you checked out Kingdom 80s?
What?
No.
Kingdom 80s is a standalone expansion, and it's what if we didn't get the Stranger Things license, but we made this game anyway.
Oh, okay.
That's very strange.
Instead of a king on horseback, it's a kid on a BMX bike, but you're doing the same kind of things.
Interesting.
Well, that's cool. I had never heard of that. But yeah, Kingdom 2 Crowns, if you got Game Pass, go and check it out, especially if you've got someone that you can play on the couch with. Although there is online co-op as well, which is cool. Buck, what else have you got for us this week?
I'm going to bring a fun fact for my what else you got this week.
Okay.
I saw a fun survey that came out that said 14% of North America still loves to play retro games. Let's work on making that 15%. What do you say?
Oh, 14% of America.
That's North America specifically. Yeah, that's a pretty big number, right?
Decent amount of
millions and millions of people still like retro games and play. It said specifically games before the 2000s.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I'm playing my Wii. No, that's not. Anyhow, Raph, what else have you got for us this week? Anything?
Yes, I actually do have something. I have a game as well. We ask every week that you guys send us game codes so we can try out your indie game, and that's what I did this week.
Because we have a backlog of those.
We do have a backlog. But
thank you.
I played a game. Yes, thank you very much. Absolutely. Bert Games in particular, you sent us this one. I don't know if you are one person named Bert or a studio named Bert Games, but thank you. This game is called Surviving Skeleton Island. It has a release date to be determined. It's not quite out yet. And I can kind of tell. I'm not going to lie. It's not a lot to review here because the game is very incomplete and bare bones at the moment. The developer has stated that this is a passion project of theirs. And I understand the difficulties in game development, especially indie game development, if you are a solo developer. So I'm not going to be very harsh with this review. But I will say with the pros, it's got a cool aesthetic. It's got this like little low poly vector based art that's always a plus in my book. I think the art direction is pretty good. The environments look good despite it being a little bit sparse, which is to be expected in a game that's basically like pre-alpha. And I like the idea of being like trapped on a piratey kind of island and having to play a survival game in that world. But getting into the cons with this, I think that I really you got to fix the camera, dude. I'm sorry. It plays it plays a little like World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? Like you hold down, or like a lot of MMOs where you kind of hold the right mouse button and you can move the camera around, but otherwise it doesn't move. That gets really, really difficult in combat. Especially when your combat still feels kind of like a Valheim style game. Honestly, I think that a rework to that style camera might be a little bit better. Something like Valheim, where it's like over the shoulder third person, where the camera is tied to your actual mouse cursor, would be a little bit better. Or if you're going to go with the click to move the camera around, go all the way and make it like V Rising, where it's this top down kind of Diablo look. I think either one of those will work better than the current scheme that you have at the moment.
That's fair.
The current it really makes the combat difficult. And honestly, getting on the combat doesn't feel too great right now, just because one, the camera, and also hitting enemies doesn't really feel satisfying. Like there's not a whole lot of feedback when you hit them. You see some numbers pop up and that's cool and all. But I'd like to see like some camera shake, maybe make the enemies flash a little bit when you hit them, create like a hit animation, make your guy go, oh, when they get hit, something, anything, really, like just anything. It'd be great.
Make it really annoying and really, no, don't do that.
Yeah, even then, but and also honestly, a way to block hits outside of like having a shield, because I found that basically I just had to tank hits from the enemies and just hit them as much as possible and hope to God that I hit them more than they hit me. The only other thing really is just that it's very wordy. There's the intro sequence, like the guy was kind of yapping about some stuff that I didn't really care about, and I found myself kind of skipping a lot of it. I will say at least you have voice acting there, and I do appreciate that. I don't have to read most of this
for an indie
because
game,
there's a lot
cool.
said. Unless your writing is extremely compelling, I would maybe keep it short and sweet. All
like
in
this
all,
review.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, I think that the bones of a good survival game are there. It just needs a lot of work before it really even hits early access. Just straight up, honestly, keep up the good work. Put some more work into it. You got the hardest part done, man. You made a game, and that's really the most difficult thing. It's just about polishing it now. In its current state, I can't give this more than maybe even like 4 out of 10. But I think that with a lot of work, it's unfair to give it a rating right now. I think with work, it could easily be an 8 or 9 out of 10.
One more time with the name.
Oh, it's called Surviving Skeleton Island.
Surviving Skeleton Island on Steam.
On Steam.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for sending that in. And that does it for our show. That is the end of our episode. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. Do us a huge favor if you've gotten this far and haven't liked and subscribed. Please do so. Make sure you don't miss anything we put out. Come out with episodes every week. And, you're busy. Sometimes you forget, oh, yeah, there's a new Game Treasure podcast out. And if you subscribe, you don't have to remember. It'll just pop up and tell you. If you are just listening to this on your podcast app, don't forget that we've got video. So if you're on Spotify, you can just open that bad boy right up and see our faces. Or you could go over to YouTube. That's also cool because we do streaming there. So Raph and I do some streams on Wednesdays and Saturdays and Sundays. Baldur's Gate and random things. Raph will play scary games. Go check it out. It's a fun time. You can reach out to us via email with any questions or comments or games you'd like us to play /review at gametreasurepodcast@gmail.com. You can head on over to our merch store to get cool Game Treasure Podcast merch, including King of Video Games design. It's on a bunch of stuff, so I'm not going to... There's a King of Video Games design. There's a design based off the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Choose Your Turtle screen. It's cool. Go check it out. Bread. And finally, and most importantly, you can head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/the GTP. Subscribe and you will gain access to our exclusive content, which at the moment is the first 2 entries into our UFO 50 deep dive series, where we go line by line, game by game, into every game in UFO 50. You can find links to all of that stuff at our linktree/the GTP. I got to change that Spotify link on there to be their new branded link. I saw your message about that, Buck. We want to thank Crunkwitch for the use of our theme song, Clash of the Droids. You can find their music on Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere you can pretty much find music on the internet. Thank you guys so much. And of course, we would like to thank RetroGameTreasure.com. Owned and operated by the Megabuck himself, Retro Game Treasure is a subscription service that sends you customized boxes of retro video games to keep to add to your collection every single month. No more hunting for retro games. No more guessing if the price is correct, and no more guessing if the game is going to work. I'm not going to lie to you. I got a game at a convention recently, and it almost didn't work. I had to clean that bad boy, and I was like, I don't know if I should put this in my. This is why you don't buy from these unreputable people. You got to go to Retro Game Treasure. They got equipment that cleans this stuff to make sure it's not going to break your hardware when you put it in there. That shit is scary. You go to RetroGameTreasure.com, become a subscriber, then you tell them what video game consoles you collect for and what game genres you like to play. Platformers, shooters, rail shooters, shmups. And then every month they painstakingly custom pack a box filled with games that you will like for the consoles that you have, and then send it to you every single month. Just a little box of nostalgia that arrives. It's literally shaped like one of the treasure chests from Zelda. It's adorable. It's so amazingly cute. Want to start collecting a new console? No problem. Head on over to their console shop page, where whether you're a member or not, you can get great deals on new and refurbished consoles and accessories. So go now to RetroGameTreasure.com. Start collecting games the easy way with RetroGameTreasure.com. Buck, would you like to hit me with this week's new subscribers?
This week we welcome Andrew Barman, Zach Groshong, Aaron Brown, and Sidon Danny bought a second subscription. He was so happy with his first one.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Until next week, my name is Max Stein, and I love the Game Treasure podcast. It's so bad.
It is so bad.